Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Impact review for the 16th of February 2021. Not a bad show. Good to see new debuts. Good to see some different things. Fan of changes coming to Impact. Sad that, according to internet reports across various reporters, that the planned run for Sammy Guevara, who I think would actually do better in Impact than he is in AEW right now. Feels like he's kind of lost in the shuffle compared to where he was before the Matt Hardy debacle. I'm really kind of sad for him that, that's not going as it was, but he, I guess, turned down a story advancement idea from that vein of things for, I guess, undisclosed at this point reasons. Anyway, Impact includes some debuts. Juice Robinson and David Finlay from New Japan are your main debuts here. And so, the opening video recaps No Surrender, and that includes the Good Brothers defending against Private Party and Beer Guns. Rich Swann retaining against Tommy Dreamer, and then, obviously the beatdown by Moose closes it, and they tease the debut of FinJuice, which is Finlay and Juice Robinson. I like the interplay between multiple brands. I hope that it leads to 10 to 15 years down the road the ending of WWE as a superpower, but one can only dream at this point. X Division champion TJP defeating Josh Alexander to retain the title. Better match than I thought it was going to be. TJP, defending the belt here because Alexander had won the triple threat revolver match at No Surrender. Good pacing of the match. The exchange of submissions is pretty good, and some reversals by both guys looked good as well. TJP goes after Alexander's arm, and Alexander focuses on the legs. Both guys working body parts makes sense. And then TJP finally breaks out the aerial moves midway through the match. He gets momentum, but it's not as decisive as normal, and Alexander goes for some strikes to counter. I actually like the style slash in the match quite a bit. Worth going out of your way to see if you like either one of these guys. Alexander goes for a Jay Driller type move from the top rope. TJP blocks it and goes for the Mamba Splash. Alexander goes into an ankle lock. Finish sees TJP hit a kick and a Mamba Splash for the win. Good match, good way to start the show. And ultimately, we see Alexander, kind of frustrated post this match. GML interviews Dreamer about his meeting with Diamond. He says he's requested a match with Moose after the attack and No Surrender, and he wants the match to be old school rules. Come on. Old school rules 20 years later, it just feels so flat. Myers and Hernandez meet up. Hernandez wants his share of the money, which he's been promised. Myers pays him. Hernandez gets paid to beat Cardona in tonight's match, which is a cool little story. Falaba approaches him and tries talking Hernandez into gambling. Hernandez agrees to invest in Falaba, and D'Lo Brown and Matt Striker, the best U.S. announced team here, hype up the card and the involvement of Juice Robinson and Dave Finlay. They'll be taking on Reno Scum later. Not a fan of who they're debuting against, but glad they're debuting as a team here. Trey Miguel defeats Willie Mack, Suicide, and Daivari in some sort of four-way. Hate these multi-person matches. Think they're goofy and unnecessary, and they scream we're still in 1999. Anyway, these are 4 of the 8 participants who lost in the Triple Threat Revolver, which I wouldn't have known had the announcers not pointed it out. Alexander has lost his title match. Match is fine. It feels a bit clunky. There's a couple of missed spots in here. Daivari and Suicide finally kind of bring things back together. 3-way action. There's always someone on the outside. No one looked really good one way or the other in this, and everyone kind of gets a chance to show off. Miguel hits a Meteora on Daivari for the win. I wish they were doing more with Daivari and less with Miguel, but obviously that's not where they're going. Backstage, Callahan waits for Miguel. He told him that he has no passion and that he always fails when it matters. Miguel kind of walks away. Ace Austin walks up to D'Amore and TJP having a talk. Austin brings up that he's Super X Cup winner and hasn't had his title shot at the X Division title yet. D'Amore said that next week they'll have a 6-man match with the winning team advancing into a 3-way, which then will determine who the next contender for the or the next challenger for the X Division title is. This is so convoluted. It's junk. Why do bookers insist on having a 3-way, to have a 6-way, to have a jingle bells on a pole in the middle of blueberry season? These matches are so stupid. Anyway, so Cardona defeats Hernandez with Brian Myers. Cardona had insisted prior that Myers and Edwards needed to involve him. At least Cardona is doing something, even if it's in a third-level promotion like Impact. Myers hires Hernandez to take care of Edwards at an earlier point. Cardona makes a save for Edwards, and here we are. Match sees Cardona dominate the match until Myers distracts the referee, allowing Hernandez to hit a low blow. Hernandez is terribly overrated, has been for 10 plus years. Cardona cuts him off. Hernandez works over Cardona in the back and makes a comeback, winning with Radio Silence. Who cares? Like, honestly, throwaway segment. Gia Miller interviews Cardona after the match. She asked about Myers. Cardona cut her off and says he's not here for that and wants to wrestle for himself. Myers cut him off to tell him that Impact was his due to the distraction. Hernandez attacked Cardona, which brings Eddie Edwards out for the save. Cardona pokes Myers in the eye accidentally. I guess that means we'll get a tag match with these guys eventually, because, well, that's how not creative booking is done. We get a weekly AEW commercial. Tony Khan and Tony Schiavone. Khan says he's got nothing for Valentine's Day, but instead gave many gifts, one of which was money to Impact that he qualified. I guess that would imply that someone's going to show up tonight or tomorrow with Khan basically saying he's made a charitable donation and that anyone can show up. I like the interplay between New Japan, Impact, and AEW. Maybe you bring Ring of Honor in eventually. Maybe you don't. I don't know that Ring of Honor is big enough for anyone to care about. And I'm not necessarily sure that there's anybody there. The Briscoes, is anyone going to care about them? Jay Lethal, honestly, I don't like him as a person, and I think he's always been an overrated talent. I'm trying to think. Brody King. I think Brody King would be a good addition to this battle. PCO might be a good, but again, even if you did something with Ring of Honor, maybe you're going to get 5 to 7 talents out of it. Is it really worth it to complicate life in that way right now. Havoc and Nevaeh talk about losing another shot at the tag titles at No Surrender. Dashwood and Caleb with a K walked by, and then Dashwood kind of gets involved. Havoc and Nevaeh are still not on the same page. Juice Robinson, and David Finlay defeat Reno Scum, as well they should. Luster, the Legends, and Adam Thornstone. I think this is a horrible debut. I would have given them a much more athletic team to work with. Juice's debut is fine for what it is, but I still think you could have done, even if you given them a squash where they could have just shined, it's fine. I don't think that Reno Scum should have gotten the amount of offense they did here. Match sees Reno Scum cut off Finlay for several minutes. Robinson gets the hot tag, comes in, cleans house. Finish sees Robinson pin Thornstone after a superplex by Finlay. Top rope splash by Robinson. Robinson, if you're not familiar, C.J. Parker. I believe Finlay is 4th generation. His father, Fit Finlay, and grandfather and great-grandfather are wrestlers. I'm pretty sure it's 4th generation. David Finlay, someone to watch if you haven't seen his work in Japan. He's phenomenal, and I think he could be a major asset to something like the X Division if they continue to have a longer-term deal. Robinson is in good condition after being on the shelf after an injury for a while after Wrestle Kingdom. Post-match, Good Brothers come down, welcome Juice. They made kind of some fun of them, calling them young boys. They teased, remembering when early Gallows and Anderson they carried their bags over in Japan. Robinson told them this isn't 2015 anymore, and they're not young boys either, and insisted on inviting them to get some beers. Juice had just had their first round, and Anderson and Gallows could keep up. Anyway, Raju and Shera drink. Raju blamed Shera for losing the X Division match at No Surrender. Shera pushes him off, and he falls into James Storm and spilled his beer. This doesn't make Storm happy. Shera and Storm go face to face. Sabin breaks this up, and ultimately, no match is ultimately signed here, but I guess that's where we're going. Swinger invited Storm and Sabin to the Palace. They do some goofy comedy. And then we go to Tennille Dashwood with Caleb with a K defeating Nevaeh. Poor Nevaeh. Match is fine. Dashwood antagonizes Nevaeh and Havoc from earlier in the show. This is, I guess, fine. Nevaeh has power advantage. Powers are around. Nevaeh finally makes a comeback and starts churning towards a finish, but couldn't keep Dashwood down for an extended period of time. And then there's frustration. Dashwood hits a couple of offensive moves, and then hits kick to win. Matches fine but subpar. Anyway, Nevaeh continues her frustration at her own inability to win. Promo from Violent by Design. Deaner addresses Jake something about being invited to join Violent by Design. He's chosen to be something else and be someone else. He's going to be punished for his decisions at No Surrender. He got the pin but lost the war. Dreamer told Young and Doring that this is family business. Or Deaner, not Dreamer. Dreamer's in the main event, which is just sad. Next week, and defeat him in the tables match, and falls again. And he has to suffer the consequences of his failure. This is a fine promo if you care enough about either one of the guys. I'm not really a fan that does. Backstage, Deanna Purrazzo, Kimberly tries to stop Susan from challenging Jazz to a match. They tell her to be a manager and to manage her emotions. Instead, she walks up to D'Amore and asks for the match. Susan and Lee get a shot at the knockout tag team titles next week. D'Amore decides that this is appropriate. Lee and Susan get the match next week for the Knockouts tag titles. I don't think Kimberly is terribly thrilled about this. Brown and Stryker run down next week's card. Ace Austin, Chris Bay, and Black Taurus versus Willie Mack, Josh Alexander, and Trey Miguel, and Diener and Jake Something in a tables match. Kind of a flat card. Moose defeats Tommy Dreamer in an old school rules match. Commentary does put this over pretty strong. Moose jumped Dreamer at the end of No Surrender. Moose is dangerous. Gives him weapons. He's lethal. That's basically the story of the match. Moose beats up Dreamer from the early stages. Dreamer he gets some early shots in. Dreamer has to rely on a groin claw and to slow down Moose, and there's some desperation. Gets him down. Dreamer gets a couple of weapon shots in before Moose cut him off, and Moose ended up setting a table that gets spread, that he gets speared through, but he recovers again and finished off Dreamer for the pinfall. Not a main event style match. Moose poses and the show goes off the air. This is just flat, and it's the reason why I'm not really a fan of Dreamer being in this role at this juncture of his career. I will be back with more right after this.